Today we're going to talk about a little bit about Moses and something kind of crazy that happened in his life and how we can relate that to the softball field, okay? So, if we look at Moses' life, first off, he started off in a basket. Okay, not exactly probably the way that any of us would have chosen, but he starts off in a basket floating down a river, right? And he ends up growing up in Egypt, in the royal palace with the pharaoh. Like, he's in the nicest place at that time in anywhere he could be. I mean, he's living the life. So Moses grows up living with his family and realizes that, you know, he's not really part of them. It's something different. God's got a tugging on his heart to help his people, to do something else, to change something. So Moses spends 40 years growing up in this temple, in this place with the Pharaoh, with the Egyptians. And then God takes him for 40 years out to the desert with the Israelites, right? He leads them out of Egypt. He takes them away from where they're being persecuted, where they're being tortured. And he leads them away, and he's leading them to the promised land. And of course, they're griping, they're grumbling, all kinds of crazy things going on. I can only imagine the family tension, right, in an entire, population of the world. And so he's there with them for 40 years, and then after that, he is alone in the desert. God says, alright, I'm taking you away from these people, I'm taking you to the desert for 40 years. Not my idea of a vacation, right? Kind of sounds like solitary, kind of sounds crazy. So, the point that I want to get across with this is, if God would have said to Moses, hey, for your first 40 years, I'm going to send you to this, palace. You're going to be living the life, it's going to be great, blah, blah, blah. Then I'm going to take you out of that place and put you with hundreds of thousands of grumpy people who don't like you, and you're going to wander around in the sand, okay? I know you've all been to the beach. Sand, not fun to have in your shoes, right? So, everyone's grumpy, sand everywhere, it's hot. Camels, no, we're not even going to go there. And then I'm going to take you for another 40 years, and you're going to wander around alone in the desert. Sounds peachy, but knowing myself and knowing how humans are, I don't think he would have signed up for that. And it would have taken a lot of guts and a lot of trust to say, okay, God, that's cool, whatever. And I think sometimes we feel so much that we need to know what's coming next. We need to know the plan. And one of my favorite verses is Jeremiah 29:11. And it talks about God knowing the plans that he has for us, not to harm us and to have hope and a future for us. But as we read on through 13 and 14, he says, you will seek me when you find me with all of your heart. I will be found by you, declares the Lord, and bring you back from captivity and gather you from the nations and places where I've banished you, declares the Lord. And I will bring you back to the place from which I carried you into exile. That doesn't sound fun, but God's saying there, look, I'm going to send you places, but I'm going to bring you back. When you seek me with all of your heart, sometimes it's not going to be fun. Sometimes it's going to be crazy. And there's a passage in Isaiah 6:8, and the Lord is talking through an angel to Isaiah, and he's saying, well, who am I going to send? Who's going to go for us? And Isaiah says, here I am. Send me and I will go. And that takes incredible trust, because he's, what kind of journey is God going to send him on? I mean, it's crazy. You never know what God's got up his sleeve. So my point in this is sometimes we want to know the next steps so badly that we can't even see why we are in the present for that reason. Sometimes we anticipate what's coming next. We want to know so badly what we're going to do, but we can't see what we're doing right now in this time. So if God would have said to you, hey, alright, I'm going to put you on this team, and you're going to be an all-star. You're going to start all the time, you're going to play every game, you're going to be great, you're going to do really well. That's easy to say, oh yeah, that's cool, where do I sign? Let's go. I mean, that sounds like a party, so, cool. But if God would have said, hey, I'm going to put you on this team, and rather than have you be an impact on the field, I want you to be an impact off the field. Kind of like the story I talked about when I went to Canada. And I'm not really sure all of us would sign up for that, right? You play a sport, you want to be able to play, you want to be one of the big players, you want to impact. But sometimes God sees impact differently than we see impact, and it's not always at the same page. And so having the ability to say, okay, God, I don't know what's coming next, I don't know what you've got planned, but I'm willing to go where you send me. I'm willing to say, okay, this is in your hands, take me wherever you want me to go, just send me and I will go. Rather than saying, alright, what's the game plan, because I need to know which decision I'm going to make. Am I going to go with you, or am I going to do my own thing? And sometimes I can think of it as like God saying, you know what, don't ruin the surprise. Don't, ruin your own surprise birthday party, because if you know what's going to happen, I mean, what's the point of reading the end of the book, right? That's kind of boring. So God sends us on these journeys into these places sometimes where He says, look, I just want you to trust me here, because you're making a bigger impact than you feel. You're making something happen that I need you to do right now. And it may not feel like the greatest thing right now, but you're growing, you're helping people around you, and I need you to say, okay, God, I trust you to send me wherever it is that you need me to go, regardless of the circumstances. So I hope that encourages you this week, and I hope it's something you can relate to. And you guys have a good rest of the week, and we'll see you next time.